stars in the sky if you got a dream. Learn nothing was blocking me. I was the problem, the only one stopping me. I didn't like it, I had to refocus. Now I'm devoted, I know where I'm going. Controlling emotions, I'm owning the moment. In order to get it, see, you gotta want it. Don't make a living break. Confessions over these 808s. Don't sleep on the key, better stay away. I mean, for heaven's sake, I'ma be the best. Came from the endless, I ain't walk games, bitch with the chest. Beating on my chest, trying to get my rest. Watch me while I flex. Every win is a blessing, and every L is a lesson. So when I run into rejection, I know it's only redirection. I see the blessings right beside me. The chances of quitting are likely. I do it like I'm in my Nikes. Don't make excuses, they never excite me. Quitting was never an option.
OSRL Premier Series rolls into Dover, Delaware for their 5th race of the 11th season of the Premier Series. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Split Second Broadcasting. Privileged to bring you tonight's running of the Lilly Designs 125 at this concrete-based mile racetrack as we get set for what should be an exciting night of racing at the Monster Mile. Alongside of Ross Brockman, I'm Seth Cole, and Ross, a difficult racetrack in many respects. That's why it's got that affectionate, maybe not as affectionate name, depending on if you're a fan or a driver. And these drivers here this evening in the Gen 4 car, ready to take to maybe one of the toughest shorter tracks on the circuit.
Yeah, just ran a handful of laps before we jumped into the broadcast booth tonight, and I'm like, man, this track, every time you get on it, it seems like you forget how fast it is, and especially with the Gen 4 car and how much power it has. Man, you're really flying around here. Things can happen quick when there's incidents, and obviously the other part is it's kind of narrow down the straightaway, so it's a little scary at times, and that's perfect for the Monster Mile. But I'm excited to watch this one because I think these cars are a little loose, sliding around a lot, but I think on the long run it might get to be moving around the lanes, moving up and down, so it'll be fun to see how they try to tackle the Monster Mile tonight.
Fun racetrack indeed, but a very difficult racetrack. Also, a couple of notes we were given before we came on the air here tonight. No faster pair available, so you cannot afford to put a wheel wrong. And talking about those wheels, only 2 available sets of tires down in pit road. I mentioned that this is one of those rare concrete-based racetracks, which usually means it's a little slicker and means it's going to be more abrasive on those Goodyears. How difficult is it going to be to preserve those tires, especially if we go into long runs here tonight?
Yeah, I think the initial kind of run, it seems like the tires don't wear super quick, but then they kind of taper off really quickly after 5 to 10 laps. So I think that, the way that this is actually kind of a relatively short race with 125 laps tonight, that you could potentially break this race in half if it goes green. And I know these guys, there are a lot of times where they will run long green flag runs. So if you are able to get this going green for a while, I could see just splitting it in half. But if you get cautions, when those cautions fall, it'll be really interesting to see when you use that other set, and a little bit of strategy as far as when you use those in between that fuel run and making that choice. It'll be interesting to watch how those yellows fall and if there's any strategy with it.
We are very early in the young season here, season 11. We've had 4 previous races: Daytona, Echo Park Speedway, Richmond, and last week they were at the road course of Montreal. 4 races, 4 different drivers have gone to victory lane. What do you think the chances are that maybe tonight we end up going 5 for 5 in different drivers parking in victory circle?
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at the qualifying order, and there's a handful of drivers up there. We have our usuals with Mavic and Roldan and Walker, who have all won, all up in that top 4. William Schmidt's up there, Ashley Kolonix, Jonathan Oates. Like there's a handful of names that are the usuals here in this OSRL series that can win, that haven't gotten the win, that are starting up in the top 10. So it'll be fun to see if we can keep that rolling and keep it with a new winner every single week so far.
Well, they will have to go through driver 42. Braden Mavic has been a Dover monster in and of himself. 3 previous times the Premier Series has been here to Dover Speedway. The last time it was back in Season 8. In those 3 races, Braden Movick has won 2 of the poles, a 3rd one here tonight in his career. He has gone a perfect 3 for 3 in parking in victory lane, and in the 315 laps that he has completed at this racetrack, he has led 230 of them. So keep an eye out. He's got the track position here tonight with the pole position. He's going to be tough to wrestle it away from.
Sure. Great. Couple great weeks so far just to keep it going. I know at Daytona I was close to the win a couple of those races, the duels and at Daytona, but was able to get a win here just 2 weeks ago in Richmond. So we'll see if he can be the first 2-time winner tonight here for the season at Dover.
See the drivers making their way down pit road here, get themselves adjusted to pit road speed should we see green flag pit stops. And quite honestly, in my opinion, when it comes to a short track, this might be one of the toughest pit roads to get onto, because you've got that high banking of 3 and 4, and then you got to get down to the flat apron. You see this attenuator wall between pit road and the racetrack. We've seen several drivers end up making contact with that wall in some way, shape, or form. Be interesting to see if those drivers have to tackle that tonight.
Yeah, and it's the other thing, I mentioned the green flag pit stop possibility. If you do have a run of green flag pit stops, that could be really treacherous as far as just making sure drivers around you know when you're pitting and calling it out. So that's a whole nother mess to add on to it if we do get that green flag pit stop. Under yellow, it still can be a little crazy because everybody's pitting at the same time. You got to be kind of mindful of when people are checking up for their pit box. Some of it's on that curve to start the pit road. It can be, yeah, you're right. It can be a little dangerous down there, and you got to be careful coming down pit road.
It's a beautiful night for racing. Race number 5 ready to be run. Dover Speedway is Miles the Monster hungry. 35 drivers get ready to take this historic concrete racetrack as the 42 of Braden Movick gets the screen in the Chris Lilly Designs 125. Oh, we got a car around there, got really loose. That was the 22 of Ashley Kolonix. We stayed green for the moment as that car bounced off the inside wall. Somehow, Good Hands was able to keep it pointed in the right direction.
I think that inside wall kind of helped keep the car in line, but unfortunately might be a little bit of damage to the 22. We'll have to see if Kolonix can get back going here. But yeah, we got another slow car down the backstretch, down on the inside. I definitely, you could tell how this car really off that first lap or two, it gets so loose off the corner. You got to be careful. It's really easy to get into the gas too early. Got to get the tires warmed up here and rolling before you can jump on the throttle on those exits.
The car you're referring to that drifted towards the back was slowed down the back straightaway last time by was Adam Harrington in the number 4. As we jump a little further up towards the front of the field, a great battle going on here for the 6th position. Blue car, number 73, that's Jonathan Oates trying to hold off the 93 of Josh Chin.
Chin here, kind of a, for Chin's sake, interesting starting spot to be kind of mid top 10. That's a little bit of a surprise for a guy like Joshua Chin, who's won multiple championships in this league and current points leader. So just kind of settling in here. It looked like maybe trying to get to Oates originally, but now kind of falling in line.
Yeah, Josh coming off a victory last week at Montreal where he led the final 3 of the 40 laps there at that road course. Joe Armstrong was the dominant car but ended up runner-up. And with that victory, Josh Chin now comes into this race as the points leader, 18 points over his nearest competitor, Chris Lilly.
See some battling back here a little farther. Every time we see a battle that all of a sudden they get single file, you see, it's like that's 52 and Nolan Sanford maybe up a little higher, running a little higher lane. I think that's something that will happen with this car. I think especially if you're using up your tires early, you're going to want to probably try to run a little bit higher just to get it to rotate through the corner and get close to the wall. As you see that 52 side by side here into one.
That's interesting. To your point, we're kind of seeing intermittent battles through the field, but as soon as the battle begins, it almost seems to end. Most drivers, for the most part, migrating down to that inside line. Noticing a couple of drivers heading up the top of the racetrack there. You mentioned the 52 of Sanford. I also noticed Josh Chin was testing the wires a little further up inside of the top 10. There is some speed to be found up there, but are you then also putting yourself at risk at using up more tire, taking the longer way around the racetrack?
For sure. I think that's, ultimately you got to use it when you need to. I mean, Sanford there, you saw him pass Barbagallo just using that outside lane, but he's staying up there, Sanford. And yeah, it's just going to potentially burn your tires up a little bit more. It's really easy to use the momentum off the corner and get back to the gas a little sooner. And so it's just got to be careful with using that. Maybe, using it as your passing lane right now, but be careful. It's going to burn up your stuff as we look here up in the top 5. Pretty much single file through the top 15 or so.
Second place, Aiden Walker in that number 39, trying to keep Braden Movick honest, keep him at least within shot of getting the race lead. Aiden coming off a podium finish last week at Montreal. He's third in the point standings, and you think about this too. If you're the 42 of Movick, you loved the fact that the track you've been so successful at, Dover, was the next race on the schedule, because last week suffered a finish outside of the top 30 at Montreal, lost the points lead, dropped to 4th in the standings. So this is a big opportunity for him to be able to bounce back.
Sure, we the first couple weeks of the season on the broadcast, it was a great opportunity for Walker to get plenty of TV time, winning his duel and then winning the opener at Daytona. And since we've been away, kind of a little bit of a struggle, but bounce back here in second, or running second right now. Gonna try to keep the undefeated run going for races so far this year with us watching, and we'll see if he has anything for Movick on the long run. As you see Chin now moving up to the top and try to get some momentum here on Oates.
Yeah, these two cannot seem to get away from each other. They have been battling for that 6th position ever since the drop of the green flag, and finally utilizing the inside line, Josh Chin is going to complete the pass around Oates, move up to that 6th position.
I like that move to, you could use the outside lane to pass somebody, but sometimes you have to really, kind of hold them down and they have to give you a break. But I think the better move is exactly what Chin did there, was just run the outside lane, the corner before you expect to pass, and then get to the inside entering the next corner and complete the pass through that next corner. And that's exactly what he did. I think that's going to be a move you're going to see a lot of drivers do. Chin's going to move back up to the top here and try to reel in Schmidt for 5th.
It's interesting too, when you're, a little contact with the outside wall. They're off of 4 for Josh Chin, so a little higher than he wanted to be off of that corner exit. He'll at least maintain the position over Oates for the moment, and now sights back on that 79 as you referred to. But it's interesting when you look at this racetrack, you would think that turns 1 and 2 are exactly the same way as turns 3 and 4, but no, they're actually quite unique in how you have to approach them. Turns 1 and 2 maybe a little bit tougher, a little bit more off the throttle time, but you mentioned about the speed of this racetrack. Turns 3 and 4, if you can nail it perfectly, if you can diamond arc that corner, you can carry a lot of speed off of turn 4 and onto the front stretch.
Sure, it's I can definitely tell that just the way that this setup, this is a custom setup that they're all running, so it's not necessarily fixed, but it's one that they're all running the same. As you see this 88 here, Wesley Pearson got some damage on the front end and going a lap down here. It's a tough break. Not sure what would have happened there if that was getting in the back of somebody. Almost would have had to have been if it didn't bring out a caution.
I'm gonna say we probably, if we ended up going through the field, we probably would find somebody with a back bumper that's molded to the front nose of that Ford. More than likely some contact, maybe going into a corner here at Dover. Just an appetizer there for Miles. He's probably more hungry than that for some extra sheet metal, and may end up getting it here as 17 laps completed, about to complete lap 18 here for the 42 of Braden Movick. Battle continues on here now as was making his way up here into the conversation there. That 48 of Chris Lilly trying to close in up on this group just outside of the top 5, latter half of the top 10, and we saw the drivers, the leaders specifically, making their way around that wounded number 88. That's another thing about this racetrack, not only the speeds, but also the length of this racetrack being only a mile, with us having 30, I believe it was 33 drivers officially take the green flag here tonight. The race leader is going to have to deal with traffic at the tail end of the field the longer that this run goes on.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of finding the ways around that traffic and not getting caught up. You know, they're going to be racing for position. A lot of them are going to be close together, you know, racing each other. So you got to be careful how you navigate that, and that might also kind of play into this green field we got right now so far. If you have your green flag pit stop, do you try to do it before you get to the lappers to maybe try to avoid them, or you know, do you feel like you can navigate traffic better than your competitors up in this top 10 and use that to your advantage? We'll see if that factors into the decision, because I think we're, you know, really another 10 to 15 laps away from consistent lap traffic potentially being part of the battle up near the front.
Getting on board with Jonathan Oates as he's trying to reel in the 79 of William Schmidt just up ahead. This is the 6th position under contest. You saw the last time they came around the front straightaway, the 22 of Ashley Kolonix on pit road after her early issues back on lap 1. And something I loved with that onboard we had with the 73 is this is almost a mile-length roller coaster ride for these drivers, because as you go into the corner, the car will literally dip down into the turn. It will maintain that all the way through the corner, but then as you come up off of 2 and 4, it rises up. So you're literally almost floating around this racetrack in the driver's seat, and that's a big reason why this racetrack has such an emphasis on handling, because there's a lot of opportunities for the car to get unsettled all the way from the corner entry to the corner exit.
It's also really tough. Like, you want to be able to, you know, so many racetracks, the corner, you want to straighten it up as much as possible, and it's really hard to do here. We see a lot of these drivers running up near the top and kind of exiting, trying to straighten out the corner, and that's still so tough to do because that wall kind of almost jumps out. We saw William Schmidt about a lap ago kind of get in the wall. Ooh, we got a incident somewhere on track.
Steve Gibson in the 21. That's turn 2.
He's running 11th, so terrible night so far for Gibson, except this incident here.
He might have been battling for the 10th position with the 97 of Jack Painter. 20 of Kendall Carpenter was in the vicinity as well. So yeah, to your point, was having a great run going up inside or just outside of the top 10 when this incident occurred. Fortunately, though, was able to stay on the brakes, it looked like there, and everybody was able to migrate their way around. This is a very tight racetrack, a very narrow racetrack, and when trouble breaks out, usually we end up having multi-car incidents. If we got away with a solo car spin, that is very rare at a track such as Dover.
Carpenter to the inside here. Gets a little help. Yeah, looks like Kendall just got a little high and unfortunately kind of gets into him after the big slide. Kind of nowhere to go, but fortunately brings out the caution where we got everybody coming down to pit road.
Great avoidance there by everybody to be able to go both to the inside and the outside of that spinning number 21. As you see the onboard there with the 20 of Carpenter. A little contact there with the front end after the initial contact, so maybe some repairs for Kendall. As he, along with everybody else on pit road, close battle off of pit lane there as Aiden Walker punched the throttle but couldn't quite get to that commitment line on exit ahead of Braden Movick, will maintain the top position. That number 1 pit stall, very important when it comes to a track like Dover.
Notice Diego rolled and still on pit road, spending a lot of extra time. Obviously started up in the top 5 tonight. Oh, looks like maybe Aiden Walker has an issue, maybe a penalty. Slowing down here on the apron, letting everybody by. I'm thinking that's either a penalty or it's coming back down pit road. Maybe a combination of both.
Could very well be, and that's a tough break because, you know, we saw just how hard drivers like Josh Chin, Jonathan Oates had to work to get just 2-3 spots during the course of that run. Now for the 39 of Walker, who has been second place all evening long prior to that caution, going to have to work his way from the back to the front. And we only had a handful of drivers that got lapped during the course of that run too, so he's going to restart well outside of the top 20, maybe even the top 25.
Yeah, you said it too. It's tough to gain track position here, and I think that, just looking through the running order before that yellow, there was not a lot of cars that had maybe 1, 2, or 3 positions gained or lost. Just shows you how tough it is to pass, how important track position is. I think some big gains on pit stops there. Cole Freilich up 10 spots up into the top 10 now. We see farther back a handful. Nathan Kiani up 10 spots. Trey Patton up 11 spots. So your opportunity just to survive here and then also just execute pit road if we do get a caution might be a huge factor in potentially getting up into the top 10.
So Braden Bubbick will get us back under green. New driver on the outside of the front row, the 77 of Douglas Newbigging. And Josh Chin, William Schmidt, Jonathan Oates going to be your top 5 as we get ready to go back green flag racing. 31 drivers currently on the racetrack. All 31 on the lead lap at this point in time. The only driver we've got off the lead lap is Ashley Kolinick, still on pit road making repairs. That number 22 is 42 car gets away. Oh, we got a spinner. The 31 is around it as Morpheus Perry. Look out. Everyone somehow able to split that Robbie Gordon throwback. And the second caution waves here on lap 29.
If we'll have to see if this is if you got any help or if this is the case of those early lap or early turns through the fresh tires. If there's just a lack of grip there, it's so easy to just be racing the guys around you and not really think about where you're at on the track. We'll see if that's kind of by himself.
Yep, was running the 7th position at the time, and yep, exactly what you're talking about, trying to get back to the throttle there, and those cooler, fresher tires, those rear tires, just not willing to grip when he got back to the throttle.
I thought Jack Painter maybe closing up there was going to be the aggressor and maybe even give him a bump, but I think ultimately maybe just seeing him in the mirror and trying to gas it up to try to stay in front of Painter there. But nice job by everybody. I can't believe all those people missed. We'll see here. Just imagine seeing that 31 car sliding back up into the traffic. We see one go down below and just fit perfect. Yeah, great job by everybody just to miss that.
Dodged a few bullets here tonight, even going back to the first lap when Ashley Kolinick had the issue. Of course, this most recent caution right here, I mean, look at this. At this point, if you're the 31, you're almost thinking, I'm guaranteed to get hit as the car redirects back up the racetrack, and then you breathe a sigh of relief that the car is somehow still in one piece.
Yeah, you got a second life, really, an opportunity to get back. Going to put 4 tires on it, and we'll see Perry get back out there. Handful of other drivers on pit road here. Nothing too crazy. If you got damage from earlier, maybe you're working on fixing that, but ultimately, just because we only gone a half a lap, nothing really changes here. Still not within a fuel window yet. Probably going to need at least another 15 laps before you have that chance to maybe skip a fuel window by pitting. But now that everybody's taken a set of tires, you kind of have the idea that everyone's kind of on the same playing field now. You're going to maybe use a set when you're ready to make it on fuel the rest of the way, and then maybe save a set for later in the race for a late restart.
That's an interesting point that you brought up there, because in consideration of the 31, with that long slide that he had, everybody's already come down and taken on their first set. Is he kind of boxed in where he has to, regardless of how worn those tires potentially might be after that slide, does he have to ride it out here since we're not in the window to be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel? Because if he comes down and takes that set there, he's got nothing left for the rest of the race.
Yeah, I think that ultimately he, hopefully is going to stick with the tires he's got. You're just going to have to kind of, make it work. I think that would be the only way. I think if he did grab a set, yeah, it's going to be at a huge disadvantage later in the race. I'd rather take the time right now on the scraped up tires and just hope that maybe you can run long enough and stay on the lead lap and ultimately get that tire change later in the race.
Braden Movick gets ready to put us back under the green. You see the lights out atop the iRacing pace car and makes the left-hand dive to pit road. Newbigging, Chin, Schmidt, Oates still your top 5 with Chris Lilly in 6th, Jack Painter in 7th, Cole Freilich, Justin Knutson, and Dominic Barbagallo. That's your top 10 as we get back green, our second restart of the night.
That top lane kind of mid-pack there. Didn't really get going. You see Freilich, who was leading kind of the top lane a little bit farther back, and that's Jack Painter kind of by himself here, looking at the top 6 in front of him. I think if you give here, you see Braden Movick. You've given him the opportunity now to have 3 times starting up near the front. I think he's only going to get better at that, and every time it seems like we have maybe someone else on that outside. So great opportunity for Movick to just keep learning on those restarts what's it going to take, because some of them with fresh tires, some potentially with some older tires at some point, but it's yeah, that's going to be a huge advantage just to learn what that restart is, because the restart zone's kind of just outside of the exit of the corner, something to take advantage of.
Already opened up over a second gap back to the second place car. Douglas Newbiggin was able to hold off Josh Chin. Chin now in trouble as he's up there on that top side. The 79 of William Schmidt going to make his way around. Here comes Jonathan Oates to pressure him. Those two are battling tooth and nail for 6th place back on the first run. Now they're going to battle for the 4th position with the 73, the pursuer.
And Chin is, kind of known for just being great throughout the entire run, not kind of falling off, but we've seen this in a handful of races over the last year or two where he's maybe not that great early on in the run, but that's what makes him so great later in the run. We saw that on that first initial run where he kind of picked up his positions in the second half of that 30 to 40 lap run. So we'll see if they're just kind of trying to save it here a little bit and run later in the run and gain his positions that way.
Great battle going on here. Just outside of the top 10, 14th place under contest. That's the yellow 78 on the outside of Rudy Valentine, and on the inside was the 33 of Isaac Johnson. And then just as soon as that battle builds up, it very quickly evaporates as they get themselves back up to single file. You see that 33 get a little loose there on the corner exit of turn number 2, and we're seeing these side-by-side battles that occur and then quickly end, and I almost wonder more so if it's one driver being stronger than the other rather than taking advantage of someone having a moment, as a big hit right there into the back was the 10 of Ruby Estes, gonna go around, and are you kidding me? Are we gonna have our 3rd straight single car incident? That's unheard of at a track like Dover.
Yeah, that was just kind of drove in a little deeper into the corner. Again, a lot of everybody doing a great job of avoiding.
It was a misidentification on my part. That was actually the 26 of Lutz Breitskopf that actually went around.
Yeah, so when we first jumped on that kind of battle, we saw Isaac Johnson. You mentioned him getting loose, and then that kind of put Thompson up on that outside lane. Kiani goes to the inside, and Kiani's just kind of working around Thompson on the inside there, and the 26 of Breitskopf just kind of gets in there a little too fast and gets in the back of the 17 of Kiani, I believe, with the Biffle font. The two of them might be teammates. Yeah, a lot of damage for the 26, unfortunately. A few other drivers did get into him once he slid down the track there.
That I believe was the 7 car of Levi Wolf was one of those drivers that slid in as drivers were trying to get on the brakes to avoid the spinning 26. I believe the other driver potentially might have been the 29 of Diego Roldan. So not quite a single car incident here, as other drivers did get bits and pieces of this incident from the entrance of turn 1 over into the exit of turn number 2, setting us up for our 3rd caution of the evening, about a third of the way through tonight's race. And we saw earlier in this race some damage on the front end of the 88 of Wesley Parson, that might be right there what we just saw. That bit of a checkup going into the corner, one car into the back of the other, might have been what happened to give him the front end damage earlier on in this race.
And you look back at, some of the early incidents that sent some drivers to the back. We saw Stephen Gibson there did a great job of avoiding that, but still had to be in the position to avoid that wreck because of being in the one of the previous cautions. Then you had Diego Roldan, and we had Kendall Carpenter back there, Aiden Walker. A lot of these drivers that were back there because of mistakes or issues early in the race. And unfortunately, Walker and Roldan got some a little bit of damage there from that incident. So that happens here. We talked about how it's there's no place to hide, and if you have to lose your track position and have to work your way back through the field, you can get caught up in a mess if something happens.
Roldan in the number 29. Spent a little extra time on pit road repairing that car. He's left pit lane, still on the lead lap. Looks like Luke Breitkopf is not going to be as lucky. They are still attending to his machine, and he has fallen a lap down to the leaders. May not even rejoin the field when they get ready to go back green flag racing, as the top 5 remains the same. That shuffled up the positions a little bit, though. Muvik and Newbigin still going to be the front row. Schmidt's now up to 3rd. Chin in 4th. Oates in the 5th position. But a couple of drivers are now starting to make their way closer up here towards the front. You mentioned about Jack Painter. He was kind of on an island of his own after that last restart. He's 7th. Cole Frelick's now up to the 8th position. So while we're definitely seeing a usual top 5 here in the first third of this race, a lot can change between now and the checkered flag. Keep an eye on some of these guys that have been able to do a good job of, with these starts and restarts, picking up a spot or two and gaining track position.
77 did a lot better job on this restart here, staying with Muvik. Gonna have to run off the corner to hold off Schmidt as well. It's gonna keep everybody closer to that 42 than we've seen over the last previous few restarts.
And 3 of Josh Chin again going to that upper groove. Oh, we got a big hit in the back. That's Kendall Carpenter up in turn 4. Lot of front end damage on that machine as it nose straight up into the outside wall. Caution will wave.
And this is just a matter of Carpenter kind of being in the back again. We'll see. But here, almost 3 wide. Yeah, that's gonna do it. Pushed up the hill.
Looked like that car in the middle didn't realize they were going to be 3 wide going into the 3rd corner. Moved up in reaction, just nowhere for Kendall Carpenter to be able to go.
And Trey Patton in the middle there. It's like the 83 of Smalden. Smalden's pretty low down on the straightaway. That's going to kind of make the entry into the corner a little tough, but really didn't come up a ton, but enough to get Patton kind of up the hill, and he just kind of hip checks Carpenter. Carpenter is a guy that potentially, should be running kind of up in the top 10 a lot, contending potentially for wins. He's won in this series and even contended for championships, but kind of a tough couple of weeks. Looks like struggled last week at Montreal, and then here at Dover. So kind of a tough couple of weeks.
And you saw that on board there as well. The 4 of Adam Harrington got a big hit there, completely ripped off the entire right front fender of his cookout machine. That's going to be a lengthy repair for both of those drivers here. And we talk about the advantage of this being a short track. One of the disadvantages as well is it doesn't take them very long to complete a lap here under green or under yellow. More than likely, with the damage we saw sustained by both of those cars, they're probably going to fall off the lead lap as their teams go to work to try and at least get them back out there and salvage what they can.
We're going to have another chance for this restart, and Newbigin has had an opportunity now a couple times to be on that outside lane and have a chance to learn here. We'll see if this restart can do it again, and what that brings. I think the biggest thing is it's so easy for that lead car to get the jump, and once they do, that second place car kind of gets stuck battling the third place car, and that can sometimes drive the first place car is able to kind of get away. So if you're on the outside second place car, if you can stay with that leader and get through that first corner and have clear track and be single file, I think that gives you your best chance to contend maybe later in the run, or at least the initial few laps of a restart.
We saw in the first restart with drivers on fresh, cooler tires, some drivers having difficulty with wheel spin. Of course, concrete, not exactly the best generator of grip. Now as these drivers get these restarts here and get a couple of laps on their tires, does it get easier or tougher when these restarts occur?
It can't be any easier. I think obviously it depends on how much tire you've used, and just a matter of how much gas you can get on it. And once they get a little wear, it's super easy to spin the tires. This time, kind of everybody gets spread out. That might keep, kind of weird to say, but them being spread out on the restart might keep them together through these first couple laps of this restart.
It gets away again. Bigging into second, and again the 93 of Josh Chin up on that outside line, trying to see if he can get to the right rear quarter panel of William Schmidt for the third spot. He'll get at least door to door with him. Can he get the power down off of turn 2 here down the back straightaway? He will. Power move there by the 93. First time he'll break into the podium tonight.
We talked about being kind of slow on the start for the 93 as far as the first handful of laps. Aggressive this time. Oh, we got one car sliding off.
They saved it. That was the 80 of Derek Hitt.
Save and ultimately keeping the car rolling here. Tough to get back on track as everybody's kind of rolling past you here, but clean track now. Unfortunately, just lost all the track position.
It's up, I believe, inside of the top 15, and now going to fade back towards the tail end of the lead lap. 28th position is where it is currently scored. Let's look at this. Chin on the attack, going to go for second. Showed the nose down the back straightaway to the inside of Newbinging through 3 and 4. Little connection problems there, but he tries to say to that left rear quarter panel, can't do it this time.
Now I wonder if he's going to look at the setup here, use the outside lane to get the run. See if down the backstretch you give him the opportunity to get to the inside. I think so. He's got that work, and I think that's the way to complete a pass here, especially early in the run. You can get that big run, and oh man, great job by the 77 to hold on.
Washington got the 15 around there in the middle of 3 and 4. That's Cole Freilich, who was running up inside of the top 10.
Was moving up really well through the, one of the guys we mentioned that's been, moving up through the field, but we'll see what happened here. A lot of damage on that 15 car.
It's like a battle for the 6th position. It's the 48 of Chris Lilly just behind, and looks like the 48 just got a better entry into the corner, the closing rate there, and you see the contact. Whoa, that was a close call. I think that was Trey Patton in the 0-1, just barely avoiding, but pretty good contact with the back end of the race car there for a driver that had just worked his way up into the top 10. It was actually starting to knock on the door of the top 5.
It was interesting how Lilly was able to kind of drive into the corner there. It wasn't super, fast like he completely under braked. It's just kind of maybe a little less brake entering the corner for that 48, and just kind of rolled up into the middle of the corner there and got him. Yeah, I don't think that was necessarily just kind of an overdrive or miss your brake point kind of run into somebody. I think that was just I noticed when driving this car at the track so far, it just seemed like it was very early in the run. You didn't use a lot of brake. It was all about how much you kind of rolled out of the throttle. So maybe just a little different driving techniques. You got to be careful of that. We've seen that a couple times tonight where people get in the back of somebody entering the corner. That's really easy to do. Just got to be aware of your your competitors, and just be careful that they maybe are entering a little different than you.
Cole Freilich, one of very few drivers whose points position did not change going into and leaving Montreal last week. 6th in points coming into tonight, 40 points in arrears, and add his name to the list of drivers that came into this race inside of the top 10 in points. We've already seen Ashley Kolinick have issues here tonight, multiple laps down. We saw the speeding penalty for Aiden Walker. Of course, we saw the front end contact, the damage sustained on the 88 of Wesley Pearson, and now add the 15 to that list. We talk about early on in the season, points are usually very close, so if you end up having a really good night, you're able to make leaps and bounds in the stands. On the flip side, if you have a bad night, like a lot of the drivers inside of the top 10 in points are having here this evening, you could free fall through the point standings and then have to stop the bleeding, look for a bit of a recovery next week at Homestead, Miami.
Yeah, it's important to stay clean in a league that has, you know, total points in the end, crowning the champion. So you got to continue to stack the points as much as you can. And I will say I'm kind of surprised we didn't see a ton of drivers pit there. There's a handful of drivers in the back, but most of them fixing damage. I know Derek Hitt had his issue, was on pit road there. A handful of other drivers were really just working on damage. But I think from here you should be able to make it on fuel. Now, would you want to use another set of tires? Probably not, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if I thought maybe more people would come in and fill up, but gonna keep the track position at least for this top 20.
Green flag back in the air as halfway approaches. Movic with another great launch. Newbigging's going to slot into second, right across the nose of Josh Chin, who's under fire from William Schmidt for that position. A little further back, Jack Painter taking a look there on the 48 of Chris Lilly.
Schmidt gonna look to the inside of Chin, but not able to complete that. Gonna get back kind of single file here. See Isaac Johnson up here, just cracking the top 10 for the first time tonight, up 12 spots, slowly making his way through the field here. Looking to the inside of Barbagallo. Can't get there, maybe a little bit off the corner, back single file.
Boy, look at how they're stacking up, a little contact right there, as that was Rudy Valentin getting into the 52 of Nolan Sanford, and they have just kind of been wadding up, kind of accordioning up in the corner. Everybody taking that inside line, having to brake for the car in front. Got Tristan Baker in this conversation. Nice recovery there for Steven Gibson. He's now up into the 14th position after we saw him spun around earlier tonight over in 3 and 4, trying to make his way back up towards the top 10. There he is to the inside of the 51 of Baker.
Complete that pass all the way through. Kind of gives it, got clear there, but still giving a little bit of room. Here comes Kiani. We saw Kiani getting that incident earlier. On the bottom here, trying to get under Baker, but yeah, we see these drivers kind of come off the corner, and a handful of times, we almost see every lap, at least one or two of them will get into the wall. I'm surprised they're holding it together every time they do, and it hasn't. You see Sanford there hits it, kind of lost some momentum, but there's a lot of times they really aren't losing a lot of speed when they do that. I think it's one of those things that it maybe doesn't hurt you that much, but I wouldn't want to keep doing it just in case that's going to break something or ultimately change the handle of your car.
You see that number 39 of Aiden Walker trying to work his way back up towards the front. Was inside of the top 5 before he got that speeding penalty. He just got by Nolan Sanford to 14th place, the highest he's run since he got that penalty.
See them sliding off turn 4, even just a couple laps into this run. Obviously a little bit more wear on the tires since we've had a pit stop. Had a couple cautions for them to save it. Here comes Walker looking to the inside, kind of rolls up the hill, going to lean on one another in the center of the corner. Complete that pass off of 4.
Way threshold has been crossed here tonight in the Chris Lilly Designs 125. We had 32 drivers take the green flag. 30 of them are still running, 28 on the lead lap. The only 2 retirees at this point in time, Adam Harrington and Luke Breichkoff. So very impressive that yeah, we've had a few yellows here this evening, but Miles has not been fed quite as much, I think, as he was planning to be. These drivers have done a great job of continuing on, even if they've been involved in incidents. We've seen a number of drivers be able to overcome adversity at this point in time, most notably the 21 of Gibson and the 39 of Aiden Walker, working their way from the back up towards the front. And we've seen a lot of great saves here tonight as well. Some near misses of what should have been cautions and been able to stay under green. But now as we enter into the second half of this race, Ross, the pay window starts to open. Drivers start to be a little bit more impatient. It will be interesting to see if the drivers that we have still running here will be the drivers we still have running at the checkered flag, because every position, every point in this type of a series, as you mentioned, so important. And oh my, nearly 3 wide there off of 4.
And 3 wide, and then once again, we kind of talked about in that last incident, you got to be careful where you enter the corner a little bit lower. Kind of will just change your whole trajectory into the corner. That looked like just the little crazy Smalden in the 83 there. Got a little back and forth down the front stretch that last time, and was able to hold it together and keep this battle rolling back half of the field.
A+ on the repair work there for the 2019 for Diego Roldan. That front end was pretty well torn up after an earlier incident. And up here at the front, those 2 drivers we were talking about making a good comeback towards the top 10, now side by side for the 12th position. Gibson on the top, Walker on the bottom. Maybe thinking about splitting the 78 of Valentine right up ahead.
Getting tight off the corner, getting the wall a little bit. Like I said, you get in the wall, it doesn't really slow you down too much, able to keep it going. Gibson able to hold off Walker here, at least for the time being, but man, it's so easy to get in that wall and they just keep it going, keep your foot in it, and Walker's gonna try to drive it in there deep. Didn't roll up to the door, the 21 this time. We're gonna do that on exit.
Again, Gibson up there into the wall. Look at this dive to the inside of Valentine. Now, was that to try and get a position on the 78 or to keep the 39 in his rearview mirror?
It almost like he needed that to just try to get away from Walker, but maybe realize that, hey, I could drive into this corner a little bit deeper. Now I'm going to try to get to the inside of Valentine. I think that maybe he learned something there, but it's so easy to try to make a pass, and then all of a sudden you lose that momentum, and then the driver behind you is jumping at it. So you got to be careful. We saw Gibson there kind of get to the inside, and then unfortunately kind of have to check up and immediately back under pressure from Walker. As we got this 3 wide battle here. It's gonna be tight.
The gut goes the 31. Oh man, big slide, big save by Morpheus Perry, who was involved in an earlier incident. He tried to split the 17 of Kiani and the 52 of Nolan Sanford and wasn't quite able to make it work. Now he'll try to the outside here of Sanford instead. This is a battle for the 15th position. Another driver that's trying to make his way back, gain back the track position that he lost earlier on in this race.
It's a little bit of a green field now going. We're kind of getting spread out a little bit. These drivers kind of get into their separate groups of battling. Once we talked about the momentum kind of change. Ooh, got it a little tight again. Johnson went up really high there, and the battle behind him kind of almost tried to sneak in there behind him with Valentine and Gibson, but they get it all straightened out. 78's going to look to the inside of Johnson here off of 4. Nice job of staying with him.
Sorry, I didn't cut you off there.
Okay, all good.
I think a big reason why we're seeing a lot of this battling going on here with 3 rows of side-by-side. There's a battle just up ahead of this group, just inside the latter half of the top 10. 16 of Justin Knutson trying to hold off the 71 of Dominic Barbagalato, and it seems like the 16 maybe not quite as fast as the 71, but with the 71 not being able to complete the pass, it's just wadding all these other drivers up behind them as we got one way up the racetrack. That is Kendall Carpenter in the 20 letting the leaders on by.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to set somebody up. We saw, we talked about Josh Shin and how he was using a full lap to set somebody up to make a pass. And sometimes it means, running the outside lane to kind of get the momentum, or just setting up your run on the exit. And if you do that to try to set up the guy in front of you, well, the guy behind you might just try to jump you then, because you kind of have to slow down to go fast in the next corner. So it's such a momentum track, especially in this faster car. That's a key here. But we see Walker doing a great job of just slowly kind of picking some drivers off here. He's got one of the only drivers up here now in this top 10 that did pit on lap 40, so a little bit extra fuel on board if he wants to go a little bit farther. If we go to the green flag pit stop here, we'll see see how far he'll go, or if he decides to just pit with the leaders if we get to that pit stop.
Yeah, now 50 laps, less than 50 laps to go here tonight at Dover. And you mentioned about the fact you were surprised we didn't really see any of our race leaders come to pit road under that last caution. If we continue to trend green now, would there be potentially a target lap specifically for the front runners to come down pit road and take on that final set of tires?
I think it's now if you want your tires, but I think the worst part is you just don't want to make that pit stop now and then get caught with a caution. And I think we talked about how tough it is to get down to this pit road, and under green it's going to be even tougher that if you come down and pit early. I think if you're one of the first ones to pit here in the next 5, 10, 15 laps, you're going to win this race if it stays green the whole way to the end. But will it stay green? That's the big question. But I'm kind of looking back here. I'm going to mention a guy, Diego Roldan, in the 29. We saw him working on some damage and ultimately kind of back mid-pack. Looks like to me has put on a fresh set of tires, but kind of pacing himself in 17th, I think, or up to 15th now. I think Diego could potentially make it to the end on fuel if this goes green the rest of the way, where everybody else will have to come down and top off and maybe even probably get their last set of tires.
You saw that pass for second place happen live as Josh Chin able to make his way around the 77 of Douglas Newbigging. Douglas trying to reel him back in. Woo, big slide there off of turn 2, and that will allow Chin to drive away with it. Chin was driving that outside line. You see him back up there again. He and Jonathan Oates have maybe been running the highest on the racetrack of anybody inside of the top 10. They're making it work as Oates has been able to hold off William Schmidt. But for that 93 car, you look at the lap times that he's turning in comparison to the 42 up ahead, and he is equaling, if not beating, the lap times of the race leaders. So if there is a driver that is willing to take the risk that you're talking about there, fall a lap down with pitting early and hope and pray that the caution doesn't come out, could it potentially be the 93 now that he's been able to get himself cleared into second and clearly seems to have the pace to match the 42?
Yeah, I don't know if that's, the play you want to make, especially if, you get a caution, you're going to have an opportunity even restarting anywhere in that top 4 to win this race. But I just wonder if these drivers, now you're going to get lap traffic in here. You're going to have some drivers peeling off pit road and on fresh tires driving through. It's just going to be a matter of if you feel comfortable being able to navigate the traffic in your mirror with fresh tires if you run long, or in front of you if you pit early. I think that's going to be the deciding factor, and hoping that your competitors don't bring out a yellow if you do pit early.
Braden Movick has got that daunting task of having to get around these machines at the tail end of the lead lap. Just put Cole Freilich a lap down moments ago. Now makes his way around the 05 of Cooper Glick. Next driver that he would encounter would be Trey Patton. Looks like Trey's about 8 seconds ahead of the race leader, so some clean racetrack for the moment for the 42, but those drivers second, third, fourth on back, they're now having to get by that traffic as well.
See Roldan here. I was just kind of trying to figure out, obviously he was working on damage a lot. Man, look at Steven Gibson all over the place, holding on to that thing. But I was trying to figure out if this 29 has fresh tires. Obviously working on damage, I see the time on pit road was significant, so not sure if it meant putting on tires. It has had some solid lap times here, but sometimes getting just caught up in battles here with his competitors. Just trying to roll this bottom here and get around Isaac Johnson. I think this would be a. Yeah, it just seems like maybe he has a little bit more grip than these drivers. Even if he didn't get tires on that last pit stop, obviously was involved in the incident and stuff. Maybe just not using up his tires as much. Worried about fixing damage, but I really like where this 29's at. If this stays green, we'll see if some of these other drivers that topped off on lap 40, how far they could stretch it. But I'm thinking the 29 is good to go. It's just a matter of if tires will last long enough.
Got problems for the 21 of Steven Gibson as he brings his car down to the inside of the racetrack, and looks like he's actually going to park it there inside of the iRacing pace car. He hit the wall another couple of times. There's almost literally no right side of that machine left, and it looks like he may have hit the wall one too many times for his liking. It looks like he may actually be done for the night.
Tough break. We talked about just a nice rebound getting back up there, but ultimately just maybe getting away from him with the car, and that set of tires obviously was all over the place there and just kind of got in the wall maybe one too many times. Now we got a caution. Derek hit maybe?
Yes, indeed. Was running inside of the top 20, has it parked down there. I believe that is on the inside of turn 3. He'll get that machine refired, and I know it's a rhetorical question, Ross, but we coming to pit road for tires?
Yeah, I think this is it. I think this is man, I really wanted to see if Derek Roldan was going to be able, or Diego Roldan was going to be able to make it to the end there. I think he would have had a shot. But yeah, this is you know, the only other person that I thought maybe could have made it to the end is this 80 of Derek hit. So unfortunately, an opportunity to maybe try the strategy goes away with bringing out the caution. But I think you're going to see everybody pit here, grab a set of tires, and race this out this final 20-some laps. Yeah, it was maybe just got in the wall, slid around a little bit, and then just got bumped out of the way in the end. Ultimately, a nice save going until just kind of got a little help at the end.
It was the 10 of Ruby Estes right behind. Half dozen drivers back behind this incident. Close shave for Ashley Kolonix, as I think they were double wide down on the apron, avoiding the 80 that was coming back down the banking. A solo car incident there involving Derek Hitt puts us under the yellow flag. Is going to set us up with a restart somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 laps to go. And for the first time tonight, Braden Mulvick might end up seeing a 93 machine alongside him on the front row. But remember, we ended up seeing the 39 end up getting a speeding penalty earlier on in this race. You certainly do not want to afford a speeding penalty this late in the race, because look at how long it took for Walker to work his way back up even to the top 15.
So the Mulvick and Chin both, once they got to pit road, kind of gassed it up in that little area between the commitment cone and where the timing started. I saw Mulvick do it, and then Chin quickly did it to kind of combat that, and we'll see if anyone does have any speeding penalties. So far, it looks everybody's clean, but not much of a change on pit road for your top 4, at least.
You were talking about that 29 of Diego Roldan. I was wondering where he was going to come off pit road. Of course, the racing surface here is concrete. The pit stalls are concrete as well, and we're talking about the lack of concrete on the racing surface. The same can be said for pit stalls. I saw the 29 overshoot, slide through his pit stall, had to back it up. Looks like a good recovery for him. He'll be restarting somewhere around the 14th position here, and look to work his way back up into the top 10. Looks like the 88 of Wesley Pearson was able to get the free pass under this yellow, so we'll have 25 drivers on the lead lap on this upcoming restart. And indeed, it will be a different face to the right side of the number 42 on the front row in the form of Josh Chin, the points leader. New bigging Jonathan Oates will be row 2. William Schmidt, Chris Lilly, row 3. The rest of your top 10, Jack Painter, Justin Knutson, Dominic Barbagallo and Aiden Walker back up into the top 10. Has had to scratch and claw his way back up after the speeding penalty, but he was second place at the time that he got the penalty, trying to make his way back up into the top 5 on this restart.
Big moment here. If Chin can stay on the outside of Muvik, we'll see.
Great launch for driver 42. He'll leave him stacked up side by side for the second position as Newbigging tries to see if he can clear Chin for the runner-up spot. Can't clear him off of 2. He remains side by side down the back straight. We got one around in the back. That's the 83 of Smalden. Caution.
Spun back around and rolling, but a little damage on the front end there. To see, I think it's probably a combination of, like we said, those fresh tires early on. They can be a little loose, but also just maybe being all kind of on top of each other in the backs on that backstretch after this restart. See what happened.
Looks like this was back somewhere in the vicinity of 17th position. Yeah, looks like he was in the process of recovering the race car there as it got loose off of turn 2. The 17 of Nathan Kiani right behind, trying to give him the space to gather it back up, but unfortunately got into the right rear quarter panel, and 83 goes around for a little 360 down the backstretch.
Just a little loose. And Kiani just trying to get to that outside. Doesn't really change too much as far as strategy here. Obviously, just a caution right after the restart. Just going to mean rack them and try again. It did give Newbigging an opportunity to get to that second spot, back up on that outside lane here on this next restart. Been up there a couple times. If I'd love to see one of these restarts where that second place car was able to stay to the outside of that 42 into 1 and 2, but I just think it's so tough with the being able to grab the gears on the restart, through that front stretch where that restart zone is, kind of exiting 4. Obviously the leader gets to go first, and when they get that opportunity, usually it's pretty tough to be side by side even by the start finish line, let alone down into 1 and 2.
Well, not only that, with the leader being the control car, but historically as well, when you kind of look back at the NASCAR Cup Series, it always seemed like the driver on the outside of the front row would have a little bit tougher of a time getting those rear tires to grip when they mash the throttle. And it looks like it's the same here. Now, I'm noticing the 77 and the 79, they both went way up the racetrack there. You can visibly see the marbles that are up against the outside wall there. You can almost see 2 distinct grooves where it's basically the path is clear. I'm not certain what the strategy is there for those 2 cars going up there, potentially getting that extra rubber on the tires. I would think that would make the restarts even tougher, or are they maybe trying to pick up that rubber to clear that groove for the upcoming restart?
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw that, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd be going up there, but maybe they know something I don't. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that's almost a little too high. The way the track is here, there is kind of a top lane, but it's not like up near the wall like maybe a Homestead is or anything. It's kind of a lane down. So yeah, I think that was kind of interesting to see. We'll see if that does anything to them. But we've seen in real life some of these drivers going down and grabbing rubber on pace laps just to pick up the extra weight, but I think that'd be the only time you want that rubber on your tires. Most of the time you want it off to keep them clean.
Nearing 100 laps completed here tonight in the Chris Lilly Designs 125. Control car once again, Braden Muvik. Another great launch as he gets that nose pointed off the corner. Looks like the 77 will be clear for second place, so Newbigging will slot into P2 and leave him stacked up 2 rows deep from 3rd back to 6th.
Yeah, it really looked like that 77 was struggling to get rolling, but really just kind of nice recovery, ultimately back in the gas, able to get it rolling just as fast as maybe the the 42, even though it was a little delayed. They're racing all over the pack. Second half of this pack. See some of these drivers run up on the top lane, trying to get some momentum. 3 wide, middle of the pack there.
Tight 3 wide off a turn 2 with Walker on the bottom. Painter was in the middle. That was Valentine on the top. That passed them both.
And Painter kind of swung up to the outside here, maybe just trying to realize I got room now, but it gets sent into the next 3 wide battle. It's going to lose a bunch of spots here because of that, unfortunately. But I think that was a product of, okay, I'm not 3 wide anymore. I got plenty of room on the outside, but then just got a little too high and lost his momentum. Going to get into Mo Perry here a little bit.
Great
Hold on to
save
it.
there. My goodness. You normally want the wheel pointed straight as you're going down the back straightaway, but that was left, right if you were the 31.
As you're entering the corner too. Sometimes that helps, you know. Like obviously you go into you know the correction left and right. If the right is right as you're kind of jumping into the banking, it might hold you in a little bit and straighten your car back out. But that's what happened for Mo, and he was able to keep rolling here. They are racing a ton of hard racing here in this back half of the pack, trying to get positions.
Back on the charge. This for 8th position. Will complete the pass before they even exit off a turn 2 on the 78 of Rudy Valentine, and now sets his sights up ahead on the 16 of Justin Knutson.
Yeah, it's funny how this, you know, you kind of get to that point after a few laps where you start, well, 29 got really high there. I don't know if that's how you want to go. Painter to the inside.
Right side there too. Oh, we got a caution. Not sure who for. Couple of drivers that were slow on the telemetry. The 01 of Trey Patton, the 80 of Derek Hitt, who had just gotten the free pass to get back in the lead lap, and it looks like the 01 might have been the reason for this yellow. No, it was not.
I think this was a product of someone basically wrecking and able to save it. Wreck was called out.
51 Tristan
maybe,
Baker.
Just kept it rolling. Yeah, that looked like it was going to be bad. All kind of straightened him out.
Playing side by side with, like, is that the 05, I believe, of Cooper Glick. Little door-to-door contact. Nice job of saving it, albeit with the assistance of the outside wall. Pointed roughly about 45 degrees the wrong way, so the race officials playing it safe and throwing out the yellow flag. Caution should get Cole Freilich, one of his laps back. He's just now making his way around the leaders. Was 4 laps down prior to the yellow, now will be -3. One of 3 lap machines still out there. Ashley Kolinick 16 laps down, and Kendall Carpenter is still out there, albeit 21 laps down. About 5 laps away from picking up a spot. Kendall 30th, but 29th place within reach after the early retiring of the 21 of Steven Gibson.
We'll have to see what this restart brings. I think more of the same is what I'm expecting, but you know, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we get rolling after a couple laps. You never really know the first couple runs that we had that were more than just, you know, a handful of laps. We saw Movic kind of just get away, but maybe just keep a gap of a second or two. You don't know if second, third, fourth are saving a little bit, or if the 42 of Movic was kind of backing up to them to save his stuff. Where obviously with this, you know, run here, if we did get going after a couple laps, there will be no saving with 20 laps to go. So if any of these drivers up in that top 5 have something for that 42, they might show it right away, just because there's not much time left. You're going to want to get the get the position on Muvik if you're going to want to win this race in that final 20 laps.
And it's just incredible, too, when, again, we look at the stats of Muvik coming into this race at this particular racetrack. 3 previous times this series has been to the Monster Mile. Twice he's put it on the pole. That's not including what he's done here tonight. 3 trips to victory lane in those 3 races and 230 laps led. He's led over 100 laps here tonight, looking for his 4th victory at this venue in this series. But to your point, even last week at Montreal, the dominant car of the evening did not go on to win the race. What do these drivers behind him maybe have in store is a big wiggle there for the 77, and that's going to stack them up and allow the 42 to scamper away.
Yeah, I thought the 77 didn't do that bad of a job, even with that wiggle, staying close to the 42, but the 93 got a great restart, and those guys just being side by side in 1 and 2 gives the 42 the opportunity to get away a little bit. Here, Chin now had to roll kind of the outside. Schmidt going to look to the inside, but ultimately top 5 going to get back single file here. 19 to go or 18 to go.
Lilly's done a great job tonight, has not fallen outside of the top 10, but faces a challenge from Aiden Walker on the inside, holds off that battle. And wow, what a slide there by the 29 of Diego Roldan as he looks to the inside of the 16 of Knutson.
Just trying to roll that bottom here. Car's bouncing off the wall in the back. Keep it going straight here. We want to see if we can get this rolling here and these last handful of laps green. See what kind of battles we get up in this top 10. Kind of getting single file again here, but I think after you get rolling a little bit, you're going to see the battle start.
Three wide in the back, and there goes the 33 of Isaac Johnson. They were giving very little space going into 3. 52 slid up into the 33, and the yellow flag's gonna wave. We're gonna get ourselves a restart now with less than 15 laps to go. You know that every point, every position matters when we're 3 wide for a restart back around the 16th position.
Sanford in that 52 really aggressive in making passes and doing a great job of it. That time just got a little too much momentum down in that inside lane. Kind of moved up the hill and 3 wide. It's not fun to be the one in the middle. Got no wiggle room as far as where to go.
We see this on board here with Johnson. I mean, again, cannot say enough about the drivers here tonight and what they've been able to do in not having these wrecks be even worse than what they are. I mean, I think that now I've moved over to my second hand and counting solo car spins here at Dover, which is usually a thing unheard of. Credit the drivers for being able to avoid, and credit the drivers that have been involved in the incidents as well for making sure they hold the brakes, maintain exactly where they are, and give those oncoming drivers a lane to be able to either go to the inside or the outside and not cause it to be a multi-car wreck.
Yeah, and I think that part of that also is, you know, a great job by just league in general, you know, and obviously this is a series with a lot of drivers that have made many starts racing around each other. They, if you start to gain the respect, you understand that like giving up a position or two just to avoid a wreck is worth it, because you want to keep your car clean and keep your competitors' cars clean, and if you start doing that and all your other fellow drivers start doing that, well then nobody's losing positions. You know, I think that's sometimes the game of chicken where you feel like when people are starting to crash, you maybe don't get on the brakes right away because you don't want to lose any positions. But if you play the safety card and work as a group in this league, you can ultimately all survive it. It's an interesting little pacing here as Muvik got a little high there and almost running the 77 in the wall off of 4 there under caution.
Gotta wonder if there's maybe some verbal exchange going on there, maybe jokingly, as the 42 kind of moves the 77 up there. Maybe saying, hey, this is the lane that you need to restart, and I'll take the middle line for when we come off of turn 4.
I kind of wonder, you know, obviously they don't have I don't believe they have the leader has lane choice, but I'd wonder if Muvik, you know, would ever consider starting on the outside if he would be able to, because obviously once you get rolling, give you a little better entry into the corner. But yeah, we've seen that top lane just kind of not really go on the start here. Man, if you're that 77, one of these times you got to maybe try to anticipate it a little bit more and try to kind of jump when you never know when the 42's been leaving, if the 77's kind of learned the habits yet, or if it's just been a great job by Muvik of changing it up every time.
Didn't have the rear grip on the previous restart. Let's see what he can find this time off of turn 4 is Muvik. Waiting. We'll go about halfway through the restart zone. Again, another big slide there for Newbigging.
I think that's going to give Chin the opportunity to get this pass done for second. That's going to do it. Unfortunately, that initial kind of, big wreck in the back.
In the middle of the pack, we got one almost up and over. That was Aiden Walker, and the track is completely blockaded.
That was all of them there. A lot of them in that 7th to 15th range there, getting significant damage.
Up until this point, Miles had been ordering appetizer after appetizer. That time, he just ordered everything on the menu.
Got them all. Yeah, I think this is just a run out of room down the backstretch off of 2. We'll see this replay here, but I think this is, potentially 3 cars going for space for 2. Yeah, maybe Walker just kind of closed up on Lilly and kind of piling in behind.
About just how narrow this racetrack is. It's known as what's called a self-cleaning racetrack, so drivers will slide from the top down to the bottom, and as everybody's trying to bob and weave, make their way through, holes that were there just a second ago close up, and we've got a lot of torn up race cars. That was a big hit to the inside wall for the 29 of Diego Roldan. Saw him smoking as he left the scene of the accident. Austin ripping the 65, a lot of damage. I mean, that wreck, it started about midway down the back straightaway, and it didn't end until over in the entrance of turn number 3.
Good job by a handful of these drivers in the back half to get through it. We saw so many of them in that by the time they the back, a couple drivers of the field got there, they just had to just narrowly get through it all, and it happened so fast.
So that big hit there for Diego Roldan. Several drivers went down and hit the inside wall. I believe the 05 of Cooper Glick also went down, hit the inside wall. You kind of had a tale of 2 wrecks there as well. You mentioned about those drivers that were able to get on the brakes to avoid the wreck. There were also, was like a second group behind this initial contact that you see here with the onboard of Chris Lilly of drivers. Some were on the brakes and some were still in the throttle. So you had the wreck and then you had the follow-up wreck, and that slid other drivers into the vicinity and made the wreck look even bigger.
Yeah, to me, it looks like Walker basically kind of gets into Lilly off of 4, and that Lilly on the outside, that kind of just got the car loose enough on that outside that he kind of had to correct it down to the inside, and then they just kind of came together there. So I think that was just racing kind of for the same spot. And then Roldan really did a great job of checking up, seeing the wreck in front to get down to the inside, but I think the cars behind, they can't see as well as what Roldan sees the wreck right in front, and as he was coming down, they just all kind of slid into him, and it was on from there. But we did have a really 10th on back or I guess 11th on back here has made a pit stop under this caution, so we'll see if that does anything. A lot of them did still have one more set. We haven't used the tires a ton just because we've had this run of cautions, but it could be interesting to see a guy like potentially we see Aiden Walker. I guess he has a ton of damage back there, so maybe not some of these drivers that have damage getting the set of tires.
Yeah, I think a majority of those drivers you alluded to on pit road, based off the amount of time they spent in their stall, a lot of damage repair, just enough to get them out there and continue on. As great restart there for Josh Chin. He was to the right rear quarter panel of Muvik when they made their way down the front straightaway, but now Muvik gonna clear him at least for the moment. But that 93, he has been stalwart on that outside line all night long, has set up drivers with that run off the corner. Can he do something here with the 42? Remember, he only led the final 3 laps last week at Montreal to go to victory lane. Could he pull off late race theatrics here tonight at Dover?
Great job on the restart to stay up on that outside lane. It kind of forced him to use that outside lane in the next corner and had a little bit of a run, but now kind of used that outside lane last few laps, now back down to the bottom. Ooh, Isaac Johnson's around into the wall. It's going to bring out another yellow.
We'll scatter to avoid this caution with 7 laps to go, so we will have a shootout coming up here in regulation. Looks like he gets a little high up there off of turn 4. That's Trey Patton that was to his left rear quarter panel. And that's one of the toughest things about Dover when you're battling somebody is you're trying to gauge the driver in front of you. Are they going to make that corner or are they going to get the wall? And when they scrub the wall and lose just that little bit of speed, you don't have the split-second reaction time to also lift and stay off the left rear quarter panel. That leads to that contact, actually lifted the rear tires of the 33 off the ground.
Just a product of trying to keeping rolling there after the restart in the back half of the field. Just sometimes you gotta be careful and see. We're gonna maybe see some drivers try to get tires here. A couple people looked.
A little fake.
Yeah, a little bit of a fake to see what some of these drivers would do.
You mentioned about drivers that managed to get through that wreck. We got our usuals up here inside of the top 5 that we've seen pretty much all night long, but you look a little bit further back and there are some faces that we haven't mentioned in the top 10 all evening, and they're up here by proxy of getting through that massive wreck we saw in the back straightaway. 7th place, you've now got Nolan Sanford in the 52. You mentioned about him being really good and picking up spots on the restarts. Bailey Thompson is now up in the 8th position. Tristan Baker, who is in one of our most recent cautions, had that half spin and saved it. He's 9th, and Derek Hitt, who was a lap down earlier on in this race, got the free pass, is now up inside of the top 10. So what has obviously been a bit of a problem for some drivers that were up here in the top 10 all night long have been a blessing to some other drivers that have struggled. One timely wreck able to avoid, and they might be looking at some top 10 finishes here this evening.
Another guy that is going to be playing with house money here, Cole Freilich. We saw him, Isaac Johnson in that incident there. Freilich went down to the inside just to loop around Isaac Johnson, avoid that, and not get any incidents, and that gave him the free pass, the 3rd in a row. So he was 3 laps down, back on the lead lap now. For Freilich. So yeah, I'm gonna say playing with house money, got an opportunity here to gain some positions where he potentially wasn't going to, being one of the only drivers a couple laps down. So back on the lead lap. I know he had some significant damage earlier, but maybe able to salvage something in this night.
24 drivers will be on the lead lap with the addition of Freilich after this yellow. We're going to get the restart with 3 laps, 3 miles left to go in regulation here. You mentioned about, does the leader have lane choice? It looks like they do, because for the first time tonight, on maybe the most pivotal restart this evening, the 42 chooses the top.
Man, it'll be interesting to see what that does. Obviously, the first time up there for him, and if that matters with him being able to get to the gas early. But is this a offensive move or is this a defensive move, knowing that 93 is now stuck on the bottom? We'll see. Chin did a great job on the outside. Now the roll reverse. It's just a couple laps to go.
What kind of a launch will Movic be able to get on that top side? Good launch, gets the 93 cleared. Here comes the 77 to the outside for 2nd place. Movic free and clear for the moment. And you got to think that right now he's hoping that this is a clean 3 laps, because he doesn't want to have to play defense into overtime.
think that was a great move, that outside lane. I was skeptical of it, but what it really did was just kind of set up Chin to be stuck on that inside lane. We got another incident in the back.
Aiden Walker, I believe, in the 39 had a moment. I believe that the 20 of Kendall Carpenter also was involved in this. Yeah, Cole Freilich, who had just got back on the lead lap, making contact with the 39 of Aiden Walker, and that's going to send us into the first of our overtime green-white checkered attempts.
It looked like Freilich knew he was on the outside of Walker there, but just almost like he kind of thought that there was a chance somebody would be on the outside of him. Yeah, just maybe a misjudge of being lined up there.
Also have to wonder if maybe Walker was setting up a pass on the 22 of Ashley Kollenix ahead of him and didn't realize that the 15 had already gotten to his right rear. Tough night for Kendall Carpenter, involved in an earlier incident. Lot of damage, but has soldiered on. Currently 29th position, 21 laps down. Last car currently running, and more than likely that is where Kendall's going to finish this race. There is a driver ahead that is retired from the event, that being Diego Roldan, but Diego is currently scored 10 laps down. He'll lose at least a position to Jack Painter, maybe a position if we end up having another overtime green-white checkered to Ashley Kollenix, but Kendall Carpenter is too far back laps-wise to pick up any spot higher than the 29th position where he's currently running.
We saw that lane choice from Movic moving to the outside for the first time, and before that caution that incident happened, I was kind of saying what I think that did is it ultimately we saw on the previous restart, Chin up on that outside lane, did a great job on the restart, was able to just kind of hang to the outside of Movic, and though he got clear in 1 and 2, it forced Chin to run that top lane where I think he's been great all night, done a great job of getting the momentum, and that was the first time he really had an opportunity to get alongside Movic, even if it was just briefly into 3 and 4. And I think that just kind of showed a little bit of vulnerability there for the 42, that maybe he thought, like, man, if anyone's going to get the run off of 1 and 2 on the restart, I want it to be me up on that outside lane. So I think that's kind of maybe the thought here, restarting on that outside. Now this time it's going to be the 77 to the inside. See if he can do it again.
The thing I also wondered too is when he restarted on that outside line, it put the 77 of Newbigging behind him. Now, looking at the roster that they have, there is not an affiliated team listed for driver 77, but he is in the SKS team room here in Discord. So, could there have been some communication there where the 42, when he launched, the 77 was able to launch with him, that pinned the 93 down even more?
Fun restart here. Overtime, not a lot of time. You're gonna have to get battle this 42 right away.
Get back to the white flag. Race will be official. If a caution comes out prior to that, we rack them up and do it again for at least 2 more times. It's another great launch there for Movic. Side by side for second. Here comes Jonathan Oates ripping the top, and he'll move to second place. Great
job by that 73 of Oates to get the track position on these last 2 restarts to be second. I don't know if he's got anything for Movic a little farther back. White flag.
The flag that Movic has looked for pretty much since the start of this race. The white flag is in the air. He's got 4 or 5 car lengths back to Jonathan Oates. He's been smooth all race long. 1 final traverse through 3 and 4. And the Chris Lilly Designs 125 goes to Braden Movic, his 4th straight victory at this racetrack here in the Premier Series.
A lot of drivers in the back bouncing off the wall, staying in the gas to get Aiden Walker's going backwards across the finish line, but I think there's a lot of drivers in the back here that are probably frustrated about their night. Muvik, though, I think that was pretty perfect as far as execution that whole race.
Yeah, I'd have to check the official export here, but I'm fairly certain that he led every lap here tonight. 125 laps from the pole, parks it in victory lane. His numbers at this racetrack in this series are staggering, and he has just added to it here this evening.
He didn't actually lead 125 laps. It was 128 with
It's true.
the overtime.
You're right.
So
Had those stats even more, why don't you?
I just looked up there and I was like, oh yeah, actually 128. So Muvik doing the slow victory lap here. Get to hopefully talk to him. Jonathan Oates, I know he's a long time ran this league for a long time, but then ultimately maybe just racing part time. Able to come back and get a second place here. I don't know if he's run them all this year yet, but yeah, nice bounce back for Oates to get up there in second and kind of steal that in the end. Really ran top 5 all night, but to steal that podium finish and the opportunity to talk to us, hopefully. Smuvik gets a little damage on the back end during his celebration.
There are going to be a number of drivers that are going to rise through the point standings. Muvik with this victory was 5th in points coming into tonight. You mentioned about Jonathan Oates. He was 10th in points. William Schmidt was 9th, but on the flip side, there are going to be a lot of drivers as well that are going to free fall through the point standings. Lilly, Walker, Person, Freilich, Carpenter, Kolonix, all running into issues here tonight. As there you see, the points as they run. That's what it would look like leaving, as Muvik would jump from 5th up to 2nd place. Lilly would hold serve in 3rd, Walker in 4th. But it's a bit of a gap now here for Chin. Didn't get the podium he was looking for, but a 4th place position is going to at least give him some breathing space going into next week's mile-and-a-half race at Homestead Miami Speedway.
It's all about keep stacking those points, stay close together up here. I think nice job by Muvik to kind of solidify his opportunity here to maybe chase down Josh Chin and stay with him after Chin's win last week on the road course. But you said it, like just always great here at Dover for Muvik, and able to do it again tonight.
Race here this evening for all of these drivers, but now after the dust settles, let's see if we can talk with some of the drivers that came out on the plus side of tonight's finishing results. See if we can get a hold of our 2nd place finisher, Jonathan Oates. Jonathan, it's the guys up here in the split-second broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
I got you if you got me.
Man, I'll tell you what, great final restart for you, able to propel yourself up to that 2nd position, but it seemed like everybody all night long was chasing that 42. You'd had the opportunity, restart after restart, to observe him. If you had had maybe one more restart, did you have anything for him in this victory?
I think if I had a long run, maybe. I mean, that one run that I was closing up on, I think the 2nd long run of the race, I might have been a little faster than him. I haven't looked at it yet, but short run, no. I didn't really have anything for any of these guys on the short run. I needed a couple laps for it to come in. And Braden was just lights out all night. So kind of like Richmond, I feel like there's probably nothing any of us could have done that race. But yeah, definitely proud of the effort there at the end. Braden kind of threw me a bone, taking the high line there on the last restart, which let me get a nice jump and get around the 77. So yeah, thanks to him for that, and good win to him. I don't think I had anything for him.
You come away with a podium tonight, and I think you might also get the award for the driver to run the highest in the corner here at Dover. I mean, you were almost literally up into the marbles at one point during that green flag run. We saw you and a couple of drivers actually migrate to that outside line. What were you guys able to find that allowed you to be able to not only maintain the track position you had, but also pick up a couple of spots the longer the run went on?
Just drive off, really. I was actually pretty clear of everybody on turn in, but I was lacking a little bit of drive off, so I would kind of look up the track and see if there was just any more grip I could get there to get a little more run on exit. I tried a couple of different things at the high line. I tried to kind of stay high on exit sometimes, and other times I'd kind of cut down, and the cutting method seemed to work the best. staying up there, you kind of needed to drive off straight with how the car was set up. It was a little bit snug. So, going higher up there, you kind of get a nice run down the banking. And I think that's what we were all looking for. I mean, a lot of guys were kind of up there. Didn't really know I was too much higher than them, so I guess that's kind of fun to know. I like pushing the limits of that when I can, so that's good.
Top 10 run last week at Montreal moved you in the top 10 in the overall standings. A podium here tonight moved you further up. Homestead next week. You're on a bit of a momentum run. What's the confidence level going into Homestead?
Pretty I'm not gonna swear. Pretty freaking terrible, Jeff. I don't like Homestead. I've never liked Homestead. Never been good at Homestead, but we'll go out and give it our best shot. Hopefully I can make that race. It's a little bit of a case by case basis with being in college nowadays, but we'll go out there and try our best. I'm kind of half going for the championship this year, it'd be nice, but really I just want to run good, show these guys I've still got it, and maybe win a race or two. But confidence for next week, I would say in the gutter, in the trash.
Well, a great run for you here tonight. You survive Miles' appetite and bring it home on the podium. Jonathan, before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
I want to thank Braden Movick for taking the top side on that last restart. Let me get a nice run there, which was pretty cool. I want to give a shout out, obviously, to all my friends and family that support me in my personal life, make this whole thing possible, kind of incidentally. And you know what? Let's go ahead and thank Air Jordan for putting their logos on the car here. They've been a huge supporter of this team. Obviously, couldn't do it without them. Obviously.
A great performance here tonight at the Monster Mile for Jonathan Oates brings it home second place here this evening. Congratulations on the great run.
Thank you, Jeff.
I believe we have our third place finisher here on standby. Ross, let's see if he can dial him up.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to Douglas. Douglas, you got a copy?
Hello.
I'm gonna ask you. I want to make sure. How do you say your last name?
New beginning.
I think we got it. Yeah,
I got it. All
I wanted to make sure. I was like, hopefully we get to talk to him and make sure that we got it right. I think we maybe had a little struggle at times. I think most of the time we hit it right. So, came home third tonight. How those last handful of restarts there, kind of some change up with the 42 moving to the outside lane. You had plenty of practice on the outside lane, just wasn't really going. Then had to switch to the inside lane. What did you need to get him on those restarts and have an opportunity to battle that 42?
The only way I was gonna get him was if I got to his outside, or he made a big mistake basically on like the first lap or two on the restarts, because you couldn't just get up to his bumper. Like I literally tried everything I could in my power and I just couldn't. But yeah, those restarts were definitely nuts. My car didn't want to shift sometimes to third, which is when you saw me lose 2 spots on the restart. So it kind of wasn't fun at some points. But yeah, that was interesting, those restarts. I mean, I think I went from I think I was in every single spot, like second, third, and fourth, 5 different times on every single one of those restarts. So
Had plenty of practice of all the different restart spots. Kind of a race of long run then short run. What's the balance of not understanding how long you're gonna go? Do you use up your tires early to kind of keep the track position or try to save them at all? What was kind of your mentality throughout that race, and did it change a lot?
really, I think it was just my driving style that changed more than anything. I would always try to save at least my right front, just because how tight this thing was, especially in dirty air. And then I'd kind of be with Mavic a little bit, and then he'd kind of get away because my right front started to go, and then Josh would start catching me around the top, so I just aero block him, and then I kind of would keep my eye out, just making sure okay, where's him, Schmidt, what lines are they running, and just move up and follow them a little bit while trying to save right front. But I mean, I was doing my normal Dover thing at the start, and then that didn't work, so I started running all these different slamming brakes, not slamming brakes, picking up throttle earlier. It's just, I don't know. No matter what I did, as long as I just fed dirty air, I was able to keep my spot. So it was it kind of worked out in a way. I don't know. It's just, it was just positioning at that point, I feel in the green flag run. So definitely just trying to keep your spot as best as possible. So, yeah.
Well, just looking, this is only your second race this season here in OSRL. I'm not sure if you ran much OSRL before this season, but obviously only running a couple races, another top 10 here. But what's kind of your outlook for the rest of the season? Running just a handful of races, running majority of them the rest of the way. What's kind of your goals for this league?
Yeah, probably just pick and choose where I run. Honestly, I'm definitely not running for points. I missed out at Richmond. I set a pretty bad lap. I spun my second lap and kind of did a warm up lap for my first, so didn't get into that one. And yeah, what works? I'm out of college in next month, and I'm gonna start work like June. So I don't know like time allowance if I'm able to do stuff. I know I'm gonna miss some races on here for races in real life I gotta run. So yeah, just kind of pick and choose, see if the setups sound good, and then run them, and hopefully I could get Muvik one of these times. That's the plan.
Well, since you were able to run top 5 tonight and in the end finish third, you get this opportunity to have any shout outs or thank yous. Go right ahead before we let you go.
Yeah, Lucky Duck Motorsports, shout out them. After Mark Coffee, if you want some coffee, go check them out. SKS Racing, hang out with those guys, Schmidt, Muvik, Aiden, Barb, all those guys. So shout out them all. You guys put on an awesome broadcast tonight, and Nexus Esports too. Why not? Yeah, that's about it.
Thanks for talking with us, Douglas, and hope to chat with you down the road again.
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you next week if everything goes right. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Nicholas Newbigging bringing it home in the third position here tonight. We're now going to jump down to victory lane and dial up tonight's race winner, Braden Muvik. Braden's the guys up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Man, I mean, we touted your statistics coming into tonight. 3 times this league has run at this venue. 3 times you've gone to victory lane. Tonight you make it a perfect 4 for 4. Tonight your 3rd time winning from the pole position. 230 laps led coming into tonight. You lead over 125 laps here this evening. What is it about the Monster Mile that you've been able to figure out?
I don't know. It's just a track that I guess just suits the way I drive really well. It's kind of similar to a lot of most other concrete tracks like National Super Speedway and Bristol. Those are just 3 tracks that I'm just super good at for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I did. Maybe it's just my driving style on concrete surfaces, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, this was definitely a race of all time, but I'm glad I got a win from pole for the 3rd time, and I'm glad I led every lap for the 2nd time.
I'd have to start calling you the Concrete King. Obviously, the hardship of last week, early on in the season, didn't have the finish you were looking for at Montreal last week, fell through the point standings down to, I believe, 5th position. This victory here tonight now leapfrogs you back up to 2nd place, only 21 points back. How much of a smile was on your face when you saw after the hardship of last week that Dover was the next race on the schedule?
Well, I know that was my first attempt at doing a road course in this league in 4 seasons, and I was reminded very quickly why I don't ever do them because I have 0 patience for stock cars in general at road courses. I think they belong at ovals and nowhere else. But yeah, and my head just wasn't in it. I didn't put 100% of my thought process into that race at all, and I mean, any other situation, like if that was an oval and I did the mistakes I made in the first 3 laps of that race, I would definitely have still like continued in the race. And I was a top 5 car. I was top 5 the entirety of practice. I was going to be top 5 in qualifying, and I just had this one little off track, but whatever. I just don't have patience for road courses anymore in these cars. But so I kind of like accepted that each road course I will be losing 35 points to Josh. So that's why Atlanta is going to haunt me for the rest of the season, because I was going to win that race completely and I got dumped on in the restart zone with 10 to go. But so those 30 points are really going to hurt throughout the entire season. But I think we only have 2 road courses left, so I'll only lose about 60 more points the rest of the season. I just hope I can kind of maintain or just create enough of a gap, do what I did when I won my first championship in this league on the ovals, just top 3 them to death, really. because I think when I won my first championship, I finished top 2 or top 3 in like 12 straight ovals. So kind of trying to do the same thing. I mean, I should have won all 3 conventional ovals this year that weren't Daytona, but so I mean, I definitely got it figured out. But I just gotta hope Josh has some sort of kind of bad luck go his way a little bit later on in the season to kind of help me out a little bit with the 65 points I've lost so far this season. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this little stretch of races we got here. These are some of my best tracks coming up. I love Dover, over that, love Dover, love Miami. Hopefully you can get another win there. But yeah, I'll be skipping Adelaide because again, I don't like road courses. But yeah, I'm really excited for the rest of the ovals this year. It's a lot of ovals that I think I perform well at. So I think the championship, this will be the hardest one for me to win. But yeah, I think we can still do it. Just need a little bit of luck to go our way.
Well, we saw the first 2/3 of this race. You were fully on offense, had been able to open up a pretty sizable gap, especially during that long green flag run. But then the late race cautions come out here. You're the control car. You have the lane choice. Most of the time, we saw you take the bottom, but those final couple of restarts, you went to the top side. What was the strategy that came into play with choosing that outside line there for a defensive line on those final couple of runs to the checkered flag?
I mean, the bottom had worked really well for the entire race on restarts. I'd be able to get about car length, 2 car lengths entering turn 1. And the second Josh got into second on that, I think, third to last restart and pretty well maintained with me from the outside. I knew from there on that I was going to be picking the outside because there were so many heat cycles on the tires that there was this very little grip on the bottom on restarts from that point on. But yeah, and also I just started picking the top because I think coming to one to green on that second to last restart, I went and tested really a launch on the second lane, and the transition from the corner banking to the straightaway banking is a lot less like dramatic on the top. So I think that was going to help me quite a bit with being able to put the power down a little bit more, maintain the percentage of throttle I was using, and it definitely worked out. You can see on the restarts, Josh got super squirrely on the inside, and I was able to just really pin it on the top and run away with it.
Well, Braden, a tremendous run for you here tonight. Your statistics continue to build here at the Monster Mile. Your 4th victory at this racetrack here in the OSRL Premier Series. Congratulations. We'll let you get back to your celebrating in a moment, but first we'll give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Of course, got to thank Tin Can Sim Racing Designs. He designs all my beautiful paint schemes that I run. I mean, as we say, you look good, you race good, and yeah, that's pretty much it for tonight. I'd like to thank the top 5 for racing very respectfully, very smart the entire race, and like they usually do. But yeah, and I gotta thank you guys for broadcasting as well.
Well, that's Braden Movick. He's parked in victory lane here tonight as he takes the checkered flag at Dover. Congratulations once again. Best of luck continuing on the season here, starting next week at Homestead, Miami.
All right, thank you, boys.
Braden picking up his 4th victory in 4 starts here in the OSRL Premier Series. And Ross, kind of a tale of 2 races. It was the Braden Movick show up front, but then behind him, you had some drivers that were able to maintain inside of the top 5, but then you also had drivers that looked like, at least in the first half of the race, they were destined for top 10s that finished in the latter half of the field, and other drivers who looked like first half of this race, they may end up being on the end of the tow hook, salvaging top 10 finishes. The point standings have certainly shuffled at the conclusion of this one.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the top 5. You know, you heard Braden kind of thank the top 5 there because a lot of them were racing pretty much through after that first kind of run. It was really that same top 5 the rest of the way, where the rest of the pack, you say a tale of 2 kind of races, but it was really also 2 different packs with the second. Everybody from 6 on back really battling just to survive. Looking at this top 10, you see that back half of that top 10, a lot of drivers we didn't even talk about much in the top 10 all night, but able to get good finishes in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look at where some of them started. You got Bailey Thompson start outside the top 20 and 21st. Rudy Valentine was able to work up into the top 10 in 10th place. Great runs for them. The 80 of Derek Hitt was actually a lap down earlier on in this race and able to bring it home in the 8th position, but pretty stalwart top 5 finishes there for Muvik, Oates, Newbigging, Chin, and Schmidt, which is certainly going to help them in the point standings going forward. Justin Knutson there as well. He was in the top 15 for the first half of the race and then got up into the top 10, was able to maintain as well. So some really good runs for some drivers that were able to soothe the savage beast that is known as Miles the Monster.
Got the 11th through 20th here. Ruby Estes, nice job to get up to 11th there. Trey Patton, we talked about Trey getting into a couple incidents. Cole Freilich, we talked about 3 straight free passes, finishes in 13th. Nathan Kiani. I was going to say a couple of these drivers that bounce back after incidents, almost all of them had some kind of incident in this race. Cooper Glick, I'm not sure, didn't talk a ton about Cooper tonight, but 16th, Wesley Pearson right in front of him. You saw Wesley have some damage. Marcus Smalden, Levi Wolf. Mo Perry, we saw him spin down the backstretch, still able to bring it home 19th, and Dominic Barbagallo in 20th.
Rest of the drivers here, some of them were looking like they were in line for good finishes. Chris Lilly, top 10 all night long before getting caught up in a late race wreck and ended up ultimately in 21st. Aiden Walker was up as high as 2nd place tonight. A speeding penalty put him back in traffic and then involved in a wreck, 22nd. All these drivers here tonight having to overcome some kind of adversity. Got Jack Painter, he was a top 15 car all evening long as well before he had his problems. A couple of these drivers here, Stephen Gibson in the 30th position, did not reach the conclusion, but a lot of these drivers here did not give up. They kept their cars out there, albeit finishing multiple laps down, but salvaging every point they possibly could in preparation for next week. Looks like the rest of the finishing results were Adam Harrington and Luke Reitzkoff, the 32 drivers that took the green flag here tonight. But what a wild one we knew coming into tonight. Dover is always one of those wild card races. Half of the race is execution, the other half is survival, as this racetrack will find multiple ways to end your night when it is looking really good. The point standings have certainly shuffled as drivers now will head their way over to Southern Florida and the Homestead Miami Speedway next Thursday night. But congratulations to your race winner this evening, the Concrete King, the Dover winner, Braden Mulvick, as he picks up his 4th victory at this venue here in the OSRL Premier Series. The Chris Lilly Designs 125 belongs to driver 42. We thank you all for joining us here this evening for our coverage of this race. For our producer Jeff Johnson, Ross Brockman, I'm Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of Split Second Broadcasting.